I submitted a divorce petition. I'll take the car in the house. It will be difficult, but persevere. I hope you can persevere, but I'm not sure how much time you have left. Though they may have seemed nice, the remarks were actually scathing and piercing. I was more hurt than anything by his smile at that very time. How could he abandon me when I'm ill and do this to me? Didn't we agree to work together to overcome obstacles? His remarks and attitude shocked me so much that I can't stop crying. I can't possibly forgive him. Even if my body is no longer able to handle it, I plan to let him feel my suffering. This unwavering resolve marks the beginning of my next course of action, a quest for vengeance. Anna is my name. I'm 45 years old and have always been a devoted housewife who looks after her family. I miss the good old days of spending every day with my spouse, Tom. It was a friend who introduced us. He has always been outgoing and able to relate to everyone. He smiled warmly at me when I was first anxious, and I immediately opened up. I would lose track of time since our days together were so lovely, like colorful candy. I really wanted to be with him even more, and perhaps he felt the same way, savoring our time together. We vowed to get married because we loved one another so much, even if it's difficult to believe now. It felt like a dream to live with him. Every day shone, and I had faith that we would continue to grin together in the future. However, Tom started to change with time. His pay wasn't very great, maybe because of the stress of his job. He had fewer career options because he didn't pursue specialized training in school and didn't have a solid intellectual background. He always reacted grudgingly when I recommended trying a different job. He'd say, "I'm good for now." While I'm working full-time and we don't have any financial issues, I worry about what would happen if we had a child or if I got sick and couldn't work. I had an idea to help ease this anxiousness. "Tom, the administrative team at my company is understaffed. You only need the fundamentals. No special certifications are required. Are you interested?" One day, I learned about an administrative position from a friend in human resources at my workplace. I proposed it to him because I believed it could be an excellent way to help him deal with his difficult work circumstances. His response, however, was icy. "Why do you decide on my employment without consulting me? I choose this location on my own. Are you implying that there is a problem with it?" I was surprised. I had just suggested it because I was worried about his future. "I apologize. I didn't intend to offend you with that unexpected suggestion. I simply felt that you could be a better fit for this organization, and that the conditions at your current employment were difficult." However, he didn't interpret it that way. "You can't act like a stranger and meddle in my professional choices just because you're my wife. You know, I have my own opinions." I whispered to myself as he left. The term stranger struck a deep chord. His comments and demeanor seemed to be intended for someone else, even though I am his wife and we are a family. There was a fissure between us that was expanding quickly. Tom had also been harsh with my family. My mother, a truly kind person, would regularly visit our home while I was away for work. She cleaned and cooked delightful meals, storing them in the refrigerator as her way of checking in on us. I was grateful for her kindness. I'd often invited my mother over for dinner, but lately Tom seemed increasingly irritated by her presence. When he came home and saw her in the living room, he'd snap, "You're here again." Both my mother and I were taken aback by his remark. It made me question the state of our relationship and our future. How could we bridge the growing gap between us? My mother, with a gentle smile, said, "It's all right, Anna. If my presence makes you uncomfortable, I apologize. I'll leave earlier today." Hearing her say that, especially when she's always gone out of her way to help us despite her busy schedule, was heart-wrenching. "Tom, please think about how Mom feels," I pleaded. "She's always looking out for us. Please show her a little respect." Tears welled up in my eyes, changing the room's atmosphere. I remembered all the times my mother had brightened our home and couldn't understand why Tom would speak to her that way. When I come home after working hard every day, all I want is to relax. It's exhausting to have someone else around all the time in my own house. I tried to understand Tom's perspective, but I couldn't shake the appreciation I felt for my mother. Honestly, I didn't think I was wrong. It felt like Tom was being stubborn, but I wasn't sure how to express my feelings in a way he'd understand. My mother said, "Don't worry about it. If everyone's happy, that's all that matters to me," and gave me a comforting smile. Her warm words filled me with overwhelming guilt. That night, as I enjoyed the delicious meal she had cooked, my emotions were a jumble of appreciation and remorse. I couldn't stop thinking about Tom. I spent countless nights pondering how our relationship could improve, but a much larger challenge emerged at work. I suddenly felt dizzy and fainted. Thankfully, my colleagues acted quickly, calling an ambulance and rushing me to a nearby major hospital. The medical tests started, but everything seemed like a blur. I tried to reach Tom, but he didn't respond. Then I received the diagnosis: cancer. Fortunately, it was caught early, and with proper treatment, the doctor said I'd be okay. Still, I knew cancer treatments could be grueling, so I steeled myself for the long and challenging road ahead. I told Tom about the diagnosis and my hospitalization, but his response was indifferent. His silence made me feel incredibly lonely. Yet, I chose to focus on my treatment, believing that moving forward was the only option. The cancer treatment was tougher than I'd imagined. My health deteriorated rapidly, forcing me to stay in bed most of the time. One day, amidst the struggle, Tom finally appeared in my hospital room. "How are you feeling?" he asked casually. "Well, it's pretty rough," I replied, half jokingly. "It might have been a bit easier if you were by my side." To be honest, I was frustrated by his attitude. Why hadn't he come sooner? His support could have made a world of difference during these trying times. Instead of feeling relieved about our reunion, I was left feeling more isolated. I found myself increasingly irritated as I reflected on our past. Then, what Tom said next left me genuinely shocked and stunned. "I filed for divorce. I'll take the house and the car. I know it's tough, but hang in there. I don't know how much time you have left, but I hope you keep fighting." "Wait, are you serious?" I exclaimed. "Divorce?" A storm of questions raged within me. Didn't we promise to always stay together? I always believed that true couples would overcome challenges together. Tom's words confused me and left me feeling detached. I whispered to myself, "I don't need him anymore. I'll move forward on my own. I'll just forget about him." I decided that he would regret underestimating me. But first, I needed to end our relationship properly. "I get it. I'm sorry for everything. Keep the house, the car, whatever. If you want compensation money, I'll pay. Thanks for everything," I said. Tom looked surprised at first, but soon his expression shifted to a smug smile. "I didn't expect you to accept it so easily. I thought you'd throw a tantrum. Anyway, take care of yourself and don't bother inviting me to your funeral." As I watched him leave the room, a smile spread across my face. He didn't realize he had walked right into my trap. It would be interesting to see how his life changed now. I called a colleague from a company and said, "Hello, long time no talk. I have a favor to ask. Can you help?" At first, he sounded surprised, but once I explained, he agreed. "All right, let's give it a try." Everything was set, imagining Tom's shocked and anxious face. Maybe a smirk. This new sense of excitement even boosted my motivation for my medical treatment. A few days passed, and one afternoon, after my treatment, I noticed that my cell phone had received 200 missed calls from Tom. The thrill of waiting for his call was oddly satisfying. Once I calmed down, I called him back and heard his shaky voice on the other end. "Anna, help me." "I never expected this," he pleaded. Imagining his distressed tone made me chuckle. This was exactly what I had planned. Trying to sound concerned, I said, "Tom, tell me what happened." He took a deep breath before saying, "My name's on the company's layoff list. I can't believe this is happening." Listening to his panicked voice, I smirked, knowing everything was unfolding just as I had orchestrated. The person I had contacted was the head of sales at our company. I had asked him to reconsider the business dealings with Tom's company, Initially confused, he reviewed the transaction history and decided it was best to choose a different partner. That's why Tom's company started calling me. That's when I decided to reveal something I had kept to myself. You know, there are rumors in your company about you and the new girl. Everyone likes her because she's so cheerful, and there are whispers about an affair. Is that true? I could hear disbelief in Tom's voice. Are you serious? You can't be serious. This has to be a joke. His surprise was understandable. After all, who would think an ordinary employee could influence his work? Well, actually, I said, I'm the CEO of this company. There was a pause. I could tell Tom was speechless on the other end. It's no lie, I continued. That's how we've been living so comfortably. My annual income is around $1 million. Your regular salary wouldn't have been enough to support your shopping habits. The truth was, Tom's spending habits were out of control. The $1,400 allowance I gave him each month was like a second salary. Yet it was never enough. He rushed out and approached me with a pleading tone. Can I have a little more? At this rate, the money you give me might end up surpassing my actual salary. Most people would have abandoned such a luxurious lifestyle for something more stable. But since I'd earn $1 million a year, giving Tom a $1,400 allowance each month isn't a big deal for me. I've always wondered what he spent that money on. Tom, yesterday was payday, wasn't it? I asked. I've always given you extra money on payday, but that might be difficult from now on. We're not a couple anymore, and it's only natural that you can't expect that monthly allowance since we're divorced. I wondered how he would manage from now on. Oh, and be careful with the mortgage on the house. It's $2,000 a month. I know it'll be tough, but you'll need to manage it well. If you're late with the payment, you might have to leave the house. While a $2,000 loan isn't a burden for me, it's a significant amount for Tom. From his reaction, it was clear he was confused and in disbelief, repeatedly saying things like, "Really?" and "That's crazy." What I said was the truth. This was the result of my efforts to maintain our relationship. He took advantage of me when I was by his side, pursuing only his own desires. Maybe it's time he faced the consequences of his actions. Why did it come to this? He asked. I've been laid off and now have to figure out how to get by. How am I going to pay the rent this month? Despair was evident in his voice. He must have felt lost and uncertain about how to move forward. If I were in his position, I find it hard to imagine a brighter future. I understood that Tom's situation must be overwhelming and confusing, but it was a direct result of his past disrespectful behavior. If he had shown genuine care for me and my family, things wouldn't have turned out this way. This is the consequence of his choices. Had he truly respected us, he wouldn't be facing such troubles. Tom remained silent, perhaps at a loss for words. I felt a mix of pity and amusement. Was this it? Could I hang up now? Just then, he spoke in a panicked voice. Wait, can we reconsider our relationship one more time? I know it sounds selfish, but I realize now how important you were to me. The idea of starting over with him made my heart race. After all the pain he caused me and how he abandoned me, the thought of going back felt daunting. He took a deep breath. I know I've been reckless lately, and I'm really sorry. I couldn't visit you in the hospital more often, but once you're better, let's go somewhere peaceful and have a relaxing time together. I want to see your smile again. His words felt nostalgic, reminiscent of what he said when he proposed. He promised a life filled with laughter and happiness. Back then, I was so swept up by his words that I jumped into the relationship without thinking. Married life, however, proved difficult, especially with his reckless spending habits. Maybe if I had understood him better, things could have been different. Tom's voice grew weaker. Anna, I can't live without you. I want to be by your side and face life's challenges together. Can we start fresh, just one more time? His voice was filled with sadness and a hint of desperation. Despite the emotion, it was hard to trust him after everything that had happened. Stop it already. We're done. I've chosen a new path, and I can't go back, I said firmly. There was a trace of sorrow in his voice. but I could sense he genuinely wanted me back. Please, let me say one last thing. I truly loved you, Anna. If you ever change your mind, I'll be here. I could have been swayed by his words, but I had made a decision about my future and our relationship. I wouldn't be influenced by his sweet talk any longer. Enough. Words like that won't change my mind. Think about it. Don't you have another girlfriend? Shouldn't you focus on her? I knew about Tom's new relationship from information provided by his boss. His declarations of love now seemed hollow. I realized he'd say anything convenient to get what he wanted. It was frustrating that he only reached out when he needed something and turned away when times got tough. We couldn't be together anymore. Spend quality time with her and forget about me. I will be reaching out, but if you need to contact me, speak to my lawyer. Take care of yourself, Tom. His plea seemed sincere, but letting him go would probably mean his life would become more difficult. That was his choice. I had my own life to move forward with. I wanted him to stand on his own 2 feet. I hung up and adjusted my settings to block any further contact from him. According to my lawyer, Tom repeatedly tried to reach me. My decision was firm, so the lawyer respected it and provided no details about me. Unexpectedly, my lawyer suggested pursuing damages. Initially, I hadn't considered it, but it seemed like a way to seek compensation. I knew Tom and his new partner weren't wealthy. There were rumors about his serious debts. Upon investigating his affair partner, I found she had fled due to financial issues. When I contacted her family, they were furious and had her working hard at home. Actions always have consequences, and it seemed they were facing theirs. I had overcome cancer and made a full recovery. My speedy recovery even surprised the doctors. Returning to the office, I found a letter on my desk from the supportive sales manager. His heartwarming words touched me. When colleagues heard I was single again, some kindly offered to set me up. But after my past marriage, I wanted to cherish my time and focus on myself for now.